watching CIO Water Cooler TV. I'm Viv Parry, Performance and Growth Advisor. I'm delighted to be joined today by Nicholas Woods, who is the CIO for Manchester Airport Group. And I believe you've just been going through and are still going through a big process of digital transformation. So my first question is, how have you managed to it's a great job, it's a giant job, isn't it? How have you actually managed to do that? What are the steps that you've taken?
So I joined MAG almost 3 years ago now. I'm on my third job in 3 years, luckily all in technology. I guess I've been doing the CIO role for about 6 months. And before that I was CTO. So worked largely on our strategy and architecture and really putting the plan together around the work we needed to do to change how IT engaged with the business, but also to look at what we needed to do to support the digital transformation that's happening across every industry, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, and I understand that you've kind of got two elements to your IT. Do you want to just explain what those two are?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we've had from an IT and a technology perspective, generally in organisations that I've worked, is how do we make it simple to engage and to work with the business? Often I think they struggle to know who the right person to speak to in an organisation is, or in the IT department is, to be able to get things done. So for me, I've been looking at how do we simplify our operating model and actually get closer to the business to make it a lot easier for them to come to us and know who are the right teams to be talking to. From an airport's perspective and from IT servicing the airports, I think we only really do two things. We either do enterprise technology, which is the stuff that we need as a group to run a business. That's our ERP platforms, our Office 365 for productivity, et cetera, or it's airport technology. It's the applications and the services that we need to be able to effectively run our airports. So in that case, it could be the check-in systems, the baggage systems, and I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that. So absolutely, we are repositioning how we engage with the business under those two headings. It's either enterprise technology or airport technology, and we have clearly defined platforms and leaders for to work out with the business who we want to talk to and who they need to come and talk to when they need something done.
So I guess the message there is, however complicated a thing is, you can actually chunk it down and really, really simplify it to give focus of leadership and attention.
Absolutely. I think as technologists, I think we sometimes stray into the realm of talking to the business around what virtualization platform they prefer or which cloud hosting provider that they want to go and use. And for me, they are the technology foundations. They shouldn't care about any of that. It's a technology-based decision. They want to know what are the business outcomes, what are the problems that they've got, and how do we help them solve them to make it easy for them. And I certainly don't want them coming to me talking to me about bandwidth or talking to me about running out of storage or disk space. We'll take care of that in the background. I want them to come and talk to me around how do they better interact with their passengers or our guests to improve their experience in the airport, or how do we better engage our employees so that we can allow them to have a better experience at working for the group.
That's brilliant. So you've touched on the user customer experience, and I'm one of your customers. So is that the overarching purpose of this transformation? Is it to give a better user experience?
I think ultimately, I mean, the purposes of running an airport really is about our passengers and our guests, and how do we make that journey as seamless as possible for them. And technology is a big enabler of that. If you look back over the last 10 years, a lot of the systems that has traditionally operated in airports have been very engineering led. They're big baggage systems and conveyor belts, and over time that's now evolved so that all of that is connected and is our technology systems. And we need to look at how we can modernize our application estate and our architecture to be more dynamic and better serve the passengers as they're going through our airports.
And how do you, I guess you've got risk in lots of different places, haven't you? What's your sort of strategy around managing risk from an IT perspective?
I think we're a 24/7 operation, 365 days a year. We've got 3 airports that over 62 million people go through our airports every year. So you very, very quickly know if something goes wrong. You only have to look out the window and either see aircraft backing up on the runway or cars backing up around the campus as they're trying to get into our car parks and onto our forecourts. So you, from a risk perspective, you definitely feel it very, very quickly if something goes wrong, and it doesn't take long before you're on the front page of the BBC. So we take risk very, very carefully and very, very seriously. The approach that we're looking to take, or we are taking in everything that we do, is very controlled. We look at how we can phase things so that we can, rather than take a big bang approach to migrating our core systems or migrating our data or moving our networks across, we'll look at how we can chunk it up so that we can do it in a very controlled and phased way over a number of years, really, and where can we, I guess, tackle the highest areas of risk as early as possible, and also look at where we can deliver the best benefits to our guests as early as possible is the way that we prioritise that change.
So I guess, again, we're talking about simplifying, aren't we? Sort of chunking things down and simplifying them to get to a solution rather than...
Absolutely. I think over years, and it's the same in, before I was in airports, I was in financial services, and it's the same in most places. IT systems and applications have grown up over many, many years to become organically grown, to become these spider's webs and tangled spaghetti of systems. And the way that we are tackling that is we're starting to bring our integration in-house. We're starting to look at picking off pieces, one step at a time, and moving them into modern architectures and modern systems that are best in class for that particular function or capability that we're trying to deliver. And in doing that, that's what allows us to do that phased approach that slowly unpicks it, that helps us get to a more modern architecture that does allow us a much more of a plug and play kind of approach to continually then being able to evolve that and modernize it. And a key element to that for us is how do we get better access to our data and join our data up so that we can really start to get those insights that offers the seamless journey to our guests.
So we're not just talking literally about Manchester Airport, we're talking about a group, aren't we? So I guess your aim is to get a best-in-class model that you can then roll out across the group.
Absolutely. So, I mean, today we own Manchester, London Stansted and East Midlands, and we're actively looking at further growth that we can do to take that out for the business. And from my perspective and from our operations perspective, we're very much looking at how do we get the MAG blueprint for running airports, whether that is the processes and the systems that we use, or whether that's the applications and the technology that underpins that. So I am very much working with my colleagues in operational excellence and other areas of the business to define that blueprint and then to start implementing it consistently across our airports.
That's brilliant. So for you as CIO, I'm still in my head thinking, wow, that's a huge role. What's your biggest challenge?
I think the challenge is I guess it's multifold. Where you're dealing with a very, or not very legacy, but certainly a legacy architecture and a legacy set of systems, where you are looking to modernise. How can you in parallel keep the business moving forwards when they've got their own needs and wants and prioritisation? So, we have to work very, very closely with the organisation and with the wider business to understand what that is, to build roadmaps together in terms of what do we go and tackle first? How do we work around them from peak times, from change windows to make sure that disruption is minimised, but that we get to a point where together we're on a journey that we're both invested in to deliver the maximum benefits that we can for our guests.
And what's kind of the board communication like around that? Do you see your role as being a pivotal role, and have you got sort of open access, open forum to bring ideas to the table?
Absolutely. I think we're a very forward-thinking group in terms of how do we use technology to take us forward from a capabilities perspective. My CEO, Charlie, was out in the US this week, over in Silicon Valley, and looking at opportunities that are out there in terms of how do we do things differently from a digital disruption and how that's driving changes in our industry, but in also other industries. So that's great from my perspective. There's a very ready ear and openness from the board to have those conversations and to look at how we invest in technology. And that's, I think, from my perspective, absolutely recognised in we've got a huge program of work and change that we're delivering over the next 4 years as we completely refresh all of our infrastructure across all the airports, and also completely modernise our application estate across the airports. And it's an exciting and challenging time.
It sounds like it. So yeah, I guess you're saying that culture is like a big part of an enabler of digital transformation. If it's coming from the top, that you've got authority and permission to do what you need to do.
Absolutely, and I guess one of the key changes that's happened now with all of us using digital technologies more and more in our personal lives, the business's eyes are opened to actually what is the possible. Our guests' eyes are open to their expectations have been raised because life in their personal lives is seamless in terms of how they bank and how they do other things. So their expectations levels have raised. So there is a very willing partnership and desire from the business and from board, I guess, to look at how we can use technology to improve things and to better deliver it. And like I say, that's recognised by the investment that we're getting in our data platforms, in AI and machine learning, and in the infrastructure that we need to underpin to make sure we've got the right level of connectivity across our airports for everyone to be able to run properly.
That's absolutely brilliant, Nicholas. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights on digital transformation, which I'm sure our viewers will find invaluable. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.